Good Shabbos, everyone. So the story is told that a rabbi dies and goes up to the gates of heaven. Before he's let in, the angel in charge consults with God for a long time to determine if this rabbi deserves a place in heaven. As the rabbi waits, an Israeli bus driver approaches the gates of heaven. Without a second thought, the angel consulting with God lets the bus driver through. The rabbi points at the bus driver and yells, "Hey, how come the bus driver gets in so quickly? He's a simple bus driver while I'm a rabbi." The angel explains, "Dear Rabbi, when you gave sermons during services, your whole congregation fell asleep. But when the bus driver drove, all his passengers prayed." Perhaps a true story. Now, fortunately, I'm blessed to be back, and I was blessed to have an excellent bus driver this particular trip, which isn't always the case. But one of the great honors of being a rabbi is getting to take congregational trips to Israel. And I feel very blessed this summer to have taken my 5th group to Israel. In this particular year was another very special experience. For Lisa and me to get to be with many of our congregants. Many of them had been to Israel before, but had been many, many years. And to share the blessings and how Israel's grown and matured into an extraordinary, dynamic, thriving, flourishing Jewish state is truly something I will always remember. And I thank all of those who had the opportunity to join me. And God willing, I'll have many more trips in the future. Now, in preparation for the trip, I came across a study this past March, and it's been done for the past 10 years. Perhaps you saw it. But every March, the United Nations comes out with its listings of the happiest countries in the world. It's actually a serious study. They base it on life expectancy, health, the economy. They take surveys of people living in countries throughout the world. Let me share with you some of the countries in the top 10. Number 1 was Finland, and then Denmark, and then Iceland was up there, the Netherlands, Sweden, Norway, Switzerland. See a theme there? Guess who was number 4? Kind of sticks out of all these countries that have a lot of similarities. Number 4 was Israel. Now, how could that be? You've got all these Scandinavian and Northern European countries, and then all of a sudden you've got a country that's complete opposite of these Northern European countries, Israel. To put it in perspective, where did we as the United States fall? We were 15th. Not bad, but I feel like we should be better. Last place was Afghanistan. Poor people there. Second to last place was Lebanon. Russia fell dramatically over this past year, just for the information, but that's another sermon. So how is Israel 4th? With all the problems that Israel has, those of you who've been or you even haven't been, life isn't necessarily so easy in Israel. Everyone has to serve in the army. There's a lack of peace and very little hope right now for any type of serious peace with many of the Arab countries and, of course, with the Palestinians. And you have Iran, a country that is literally trying to destroy the state of Israel. It's expensive to live. Tel Aviv is now one of the most expensive cities to live in. It's up there with Hong Kong, London, and Paris. It's a hard life. I remember years ago when Lisa and I lived there, when I was in rabbinical school, we had a fairly nice apartment. But every night in the winter, we only got 4 hours of heat. And the worst part about it, it was up to the person on the first floor, because he had lived there long, to determine what those 4 hours were. So you never knew how hot or cold it would be. I said some words during those nights that you wouldn't want to know as your rabbi that I said. And that was typical. That was considered a nice apartment. So how is Israel so high? When I went on this trip, one of my many goals was to figure out how could this be possible. I started to see signs of that overall general happiness when I first got to Israel. For example, on our Saturday night, I went with some of the members of our group to what's the old train station. If you haven't been to Jerusalem in a while, you may remember the old train station. It's not far from the old city. And they've converted this train station into a really popular hopping place with bars and restaurants. And on a Saturday night, it was packed. And there were all types of Jews, from religious to secular, and many Arabs as well, all hanging together, families and young people, old people, and everyone seemed so happy. No one was nervous. No one was upset. Everyone was just happy to be together. Thousands of people all gathering. I saw another sign as well. I began to pick up clues as the trip went on how Israel could be so high up on that list. On that Shabbat morning, several members of the group and I went to services at a synagogue near our hotel. And at the end of the service, there was a special ceremony for two young women who were graduating high school to go on to become teachers as part of their national service. There was so much honor and respect given to these young women. People sang together. The young women went up on the bima. There was a sense of togetherness and meaning, the sense that they were all in this together. That these women, because so many people, men and women, when they graduate high school, give back to their country, of course, whether it's going in the army or going into national service. I began to see another sign. When on the last day of our trip, the group went to a very special place that Lisa and I found a couple years ago in Jerusalem. It's called Shalva. And next time you go to Israel, I hope you'll go there. In Jerusalem, it's a place that provides all-encompassing range of services for thousands of people of all ages with disabilities, from young babies to adulthood. Think of the Jewish Family Service Celebration Company that gives people in our community with special needs an opportunity to work. Think of Celebration Company, but on steroids. This beautiful 6-story building at the entrance to Jerusalem with a pool and workshops, meals given, a special synagogue. This particular place, Shalva, provides therapies, educational opportunities, social and recreational activities, employment training, independent living, as well as respite and family support. And Shalva gives us access to Jews and Arabs of all economic backgrounds. And if the place wasn't amazing enough, as we got a special tour, I learned on this particular tour that there was an actual army base at Shalva. Now, how could that be? As I thought to myself, how could there be an army base in a place with adults and young people with severe disabilities? And then I found out years ago the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, came up with a program, and they now have special units for autistic adults, because they realize that even if you have autism, you can give back so much. And they had the opportunity to create intelligence units for autistic adults to use their talents and abilities that may be different than other people to give so much back to the Army. And so there was a place there that had dozens of young adults living there that were literally serving in the Army and doing important intelligence because they were autistic. They had found a place in the IDF. It was a meaningful place so that they could contribute as well. And then it hit me. The secret for Israel's happiness. Everyone's in it together. Everyone has a sense of meaning. Israelis of all types, so many of them feel that they have an opportunity to give back because they want to, because the place means so much to them. And perhaps that's why Israel is often ranked much higher than we would expect on that index of happiness. On that Friday night when we celebrated Shabbat dinner as a group, we had a Houston family that had made Aliyah decades ago. Some of you may know them, Roger and Alyssa Friedland. They came there with their son. Now, why would they move to Israel? Way back when, I believe it was in the early 90s. Why would they move to Israel? I asked them, and they told me something that I will never forget. They said, Rabbi, we wanted to move to a place where everyone felt the same sense of meaning. I asked them, okay, I get that. I'm starting to pick up on that. And perhaps that's why Israel's ranked so high on that index of happiness. That happiness comes from meaning and satisfaction that so many Israelis have despite the challenges they face. And I also asked this family, what did they miss about America? They said they don't miss that much. But there was one special part of America they did miss. They missed a similar sense of meaning they did find as members and active members of the Houston Jewish community. They found in our community. That made me feel somewhat relieved. It made me feel good. No, we are not Israel. We can't create Israel here, nor should we. But we can continue to create a community, especially at Beth Yeshurun, where everyone feels a shared sense of meaning. In our post-COVID world, it may be more important than ever. Can we continue to create a sense of meaning for all of our members? And like our fellow brothers and sisters in Israel, can that great sense of meaning help us get through the challenges that we all face? What do I mean by that? Instead of comparing ourselves to others as individuals based on the size of our home or what car we drive or how much money we have, can we instead judge ourselves by how much we have helped those in need? I've seen the worst of our community when we write off people that may be going through a difficult time, when we see someone who may be going through a financial hardship and we think that it's their fault, and we write them off and we don't go to help them. But I've seen the best of our community when we're there for those in need, whether it's a health need, a financial need, or someone's going through whatever particular difficult time it may be. The best of our community comes out when we do so. And when we do so, we create that sense of meaning. Because it's creating meaning in life, and definitely by helping those in need, that creates that overall life satisfaction and happiness that so many of us desire, and I believe so many Israelis have found. Can we continue to find it as well? When we feel that happiness, when we feel that we are all in this together. I believe that's Israel's secret to being number 4 on that list. And my question tonight for all of us is, can we do the same? Shabbat Shalom.